Well folks, I've made it to George Bush Intercontinental Airport here in Houston, Texas. We got this NASA event tomorrow. Here's how this is working out, folks. So it was a late night flight from Vegas over to Houston, and I wanted it that way. Wanted to maximize the amount of time in Las Vegas, so I picked the latest Delta flight that I could. In the morning, hop on a bus that goes into downtown Houston. Onward to the Johnson Space Center. There will be a live broadcast happening from the Kennedy Space Center with Jim Bridenstine, the NASA administrator, going over the moon to Mars, like an objective, going from the moon, like working on getting a Gateway project out there, and then swinging that over to Mars in the years to come. So that's sort of the new NASA direction. They are doing an event at centers across the country for this, so not just here in Houston with the Johnson Space Center and the Kennedy Space Center in Florida, but they also have events going on at like Glenn Research Center in Cleveland, a few other places. I made it here to the Johnson Space Center in Houston, Texas. Great to be out here on this Monday morning, walking over to Rocket Park now. Gonna get things kicked off, check in here on this NASA social. Whew, finally feeling energized. When you've been coming from a Michigan winter and polar vortexes and all this nonsense, it just feels amazing to have short sleeve shirts on and walking around outside. Oh, it is a gem. It is a true gem. It has me like really excited, gearing up for spring and summer. Now I'm actually feeling it like as if it's real. First stop today will be at Mission Control.
Oh yeah. You're in a room that has history even today, and also we operated the early space station flights right out of this room. But actually, just Friday morning, we had a team in this building. We were watching several things relative to the Dragon landing, and there was a team that was actually monitoring the parachute deployments. We were using one of our NASA planes, the WB, and the team in here was actually coordinating the views and trajectories. So Dragon just landed on Friday, so the commercial crew program is off and running. I think we'll probably be later in this year that we'll get Boeing's flight, their uncrewed flight, and then in the summer, fall, we're looking at when Demo 2 goes up on for SpaceX. So we're still working those schedules. We learned a lot from the flight, and it's very important that we go when we're ready. And so the team's doing a lot of great work. But on Thursday, we're sending another crew to space station. All these commercial crew flights are really to support space station, and right now we're still flying several of our crew members on Soyuz. That'll be really great for us. It's about 2:14 Central. We'll be launching that crew from Baikonur, but that's 2:30 Central here in Houston.
Please welcome our 13th Administrator, Jim Bridenstine.
Today we are rolling out the President's budget request for NASA, and I am very happy to tell you that NASA's budget request from the President of the United States is strong, and we have strong bipartisan support in both chambers of Congress. We have already provided 10 different payloads that are ready to go to the moon, and very soon we're going to be issuing contracts to companies to deliver those payloads. We're talking about small scientific instruments to the surface of the moon. Now, Space Policy Directive 1 is not just about delivering small payloads to the surface of the moon. It's about having a sustainable human presence on and around the moon. We need a permanent command and service module in orbit around the moon. We call it Gateway, and that's fully funded in this President's budget request. It will have the opportunity to have crew. The other thing that's important about Gateway is it's going to utilize solar electric propulsion to be maneuverable. When we go back to Apollo, we remember that we landed 12 astronauts on the surface of the moon over a period of 3 years, 1969 to 1972. Each one of those missions was to the equatorial regions of the moon. Because of that, we never went to the poles. Well, there's a lot of valuable material at the poles, namely water ice. We discovered it in 2009 in massive quantities, hundreds of millions of tons of water ice at the poles of the moon. Well, what Gateway represents is an opportunity not just to go to the moon over and over again in a sustainable architecture, but it represents an opportunity to get to more parts of the moon than ever
test version of the Orion Capsule. Over at KSC, you, of course, are seeing the real hardware, what is going to fly crews to space, to the vicinity of the moon. This is actually a volumetric mock-up. It's the same size, what you would expect, what the Orion is. We've been using it quite extensively here at the Johnson Space Center for engineering and operational evaluations. And you really get a sense when you're sitting in here, when you get inside, what it's going to be like for the crew when we actually start taking it to the vicinity of the moon. Here we monitor all of our systems, communication, prop, our ECLIS.
Are you ready for the event?
All right, everyone, gather all of your things. We're actually going to head to another control room, the White Flight control room. So this is the control room where they will monitor exploration missions, so the next missions for Orion, and also Boeing commercial crew missions.
So it's always a busy time here in the Mission Control Center. We've got a number of missions coming and going with the International Space Station flying, of course, 24/7, 365 days a year. And then most recently, it's been very exciting with the first crewed Dragon capsule coming to ISS. Of course, that was demonstration mission 1. We were happy to have it here over the past couple weeks. Great time to have that dock to station, stay a week, transfer some cargo, and then of course head back. And I'm sure you've all seen the footage of the successful parachute landing.
We have a sophisticated suite of sensors that looks at what the person is doing once they're hooked up to it, or robots. So we put robots into Argos as well as people. We're monitoring at a high rate what they're doing so we can sense if they put a little bit of force up into the system, Argos lets them go up. If they're in zero gravity, it lets them float away. Lunar gravity matches up the offload and allows them to have that acceleration.
I swear I just saw like the USA Hockey or ACHA approved sticker on that. I'm just now realizing that.
And the darkness is darker than you could ever imagine. And so we have helmet lights, of course, that we operate with, and so here we could practice that.
The administration's funding not only an Orion and SLS, and we've been funded for some time, but also the Gateway, which is our spaceport in low Earth orbit, and also the lunar elements, the lunar lander and lunar surface systems. This is a depiction of the Gateway in orbit around the moon. And what Orion is designed to is carry people to and from the Gateway. And this right here is the Orion Spacecraft, if you don't recognize it. The crew module is supported by the service module with solar rays for power. It's an incredibly exciting, incredibly challenging mission. And today you heard the administrator, the president, and the administrator commit to funding this incredible vehicle.
And we are heading into this mock-up Orion capsule. This is really, really cool.
Have a look up at the pen.
It is a mixture of where it needs to be high fidelity, and I might be repeating more, where it needs to be.
Building.
Do I have a favorite building?
Hello.
Hello.
Hey.
So anyway, I can describe what we got real quick. And then
Laura Kearney, who's the deputy manager for the Gateway program, and Sean Fuller, who's the manager for international partnerships for Gateway. Eddie here, who is our virtual reality technical lead, is going to lead about half of you through some of the virtual reality simulations.
The Gateway concept has been in formulation for a little bit now, probably 18 months or so. But just recently, in the last month, it has been focused to be an executing program here at Johnson Space Center. We have been working a lot at interoperability standards with our international partners to make sure as they all bring modules to the Gateway, everything operates together well. We've been defining what we call level 2 requirements, which are just high-level requirements for how the Gateway should function. We've been talking to Orion about how we integrate together, since they're going to be bringing the crews up to meet us on board, and we are just in the process of starting the discussions with the lander folks.
the team here got Lee Bingham up there, Angelica Garcia, and Avir Shukla over here. We're a good team that's developed these applications. One more thing, we've been doing VR since the 90s for shuttle and station, but it's mostly been for EVA training.
Using some VR headsets here, mimicking the Gateway mock-up that they have, as well as the Orion Capsule. Very, very cool. Just put on the headset myself. A lot of fun. You're able to look around, interact with stuff, grab it even. Really nice.
It was close that time, almost.
This is a moon rover simulator.
The left one is the driver, the pilot. The right one, you get a lot of holes. Yeah, those are the real holes that you can drop in. So.
Oh my gosh. We just ended up on the dark side of the moon.
We are kind of bad drivers.
I think we need roadside assistance.
This is Texas. We drive trucks. This is good.
We're gonna go into a big hole.
Next simulation, landing this space shuttle. And we are here in the beautiful state of Florida, America's Space Coast. And we are here inside of Rocket Park at the Johnson Space Center. Look at this Saturn V rocket inside. Massive. Definitely got to get this on video for historic record. So this is what they're saying now with the journey to Mars. Now to the mid-2020s, still Earth reliant. Proving ground from 2018 to 2030. I don't know how much we already proved last year, but we're getting there. And then Earth independent, they're saying 2030s and beyond. So we'll hold them to it, see where we're at in the 2030s. Heading out now back to the buses. I believe that is it for the day here at the Johnson Space Center. One last look at the Houston Space Center, that is the visitor center here at Johnson. Incredible that they have these just sitting outside. I love that. Well, Johnson Space Center, it has been a pleasure. Great afternoon here down in Houston, Texas. Got a great tour of the facilities, heard from the NASA administrator via that live stream, got to hear all sorts of stuff about this Gateway project, Onward to Mars coming up soon here. So very much looking forward to what NASA has in the works right now. Happy to hear about it firsthand, as always, getting that informational content. As you know, I learn best through experience, so that's why we're down here on the ground. Unfortunately, it is time to start heading back towards downtown Houston. Got a flight to catch later this evening, heading back home to Michigan. Finally making my way out from Houston now, catching this 102 bus over to the airport. Got enough time, we should be there just fine. The adventure's coming to a close, folks.